Joined in the studio now by Attorney Caleb Maggio. Caleb, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tom.
Caleb, tell listeners what they might call you about today.
Listeners can call me about landlord-tenant law, partitions, and civil litigation.
And so tell us a typical landlord-tenant client for you.
Typically, I represent the landlords, Tom.
And what's going on with the landlords?
Well, there's an interesting question out there that I get a lot these days, and that is, does a landlord actually have to rent to a tenant who has a service animal? And that includes a service animal for some sort of physical disability or a emotional support animal.
So let's start from the beginning. If you're a landlord and you're trying to rent a residential property to somebody and you put it out there on Craigslist or Facebook or however, put a sign out front, and there are people that are going to be approaching you to try and lease your house, for example, would they be required from the get-go to tell you, hey, by the way, I've got a service animal?
There's not a requirement from the get-go that they tell you, Tom, and in fact, you can't actually refuse to rent to someone with a service animal.
So they might say, yeah, I'm ready to sign up and sign a lease and everything's done and you've got a written lease, and all of a sudden they say, by the way, I've got a service animal. That's legal and appropriate for the tenant, is what you're saying.
Absolutely, Tom. Unfortunately, a lot of landlords don't like to have dogs or cats in their unit, and if they do, they require a pet deposit. For this particular instance, you cannot refuse to rent, and you cannot require any type of deposit or additional compensation.
So how does a landlord know that this truly is a service animal? That whole service animal designation seems to be pretty loosey-goosey to me here in the state of Florida.
Well, Tom, if the disability of the tenant is not readily apparent, what the law allows you to do is request sufficient documentation to prove the disability, prove the need for the animal, and prove the need for that particular animal.
Okay.